thank you everyone for attending this small talk. I'm going to talk to you today about Amazon and how to be successful on Amazon. And the basis of my knowledge is my company TCA, or Thorogood Sports is the official name, and the brand is TCA, which I started 8 years ago, although I was dabbling for 2 years prior. So it's between 8 and 10 years that we've created this company, and most of our business today still is done on Amazon. We're international presence on all the different Amazons around the world, and we're, like I've mentioned before in the pre-email, we're no doubt in the top 1%, if not higher up than that, of all Amazon sellers in the world. When I wrote my previous presentation, we were over 1 million customers, but we've now got to 2 million, so I've changed it. So started with £100, which I'll tell you about in a second, and we've now served over 2 million customers. 2 million customers have bought from TCA, and that's obviously still growing, and it's going to get even bigger come Q4. So the contents for today's talk is here, the story of the brand, and then sort of 3 principles as to how to be successful. Broadly speaking, it's find your insight, understand the platform, and work the platform. So what is the story of TCA? I started off selling football snoods, which you can see here being worn by Carlos Tevez, which is a piece of fabric that goes around your neck to keep your neck warm. And footballers started wearing these when we had a really cold winter. I went to JD Sports to buy one, and I didn't sell them. I went to Sports Direct to buy one, and they didn't sell them. So I had a brainwave. Clearly, there's demand for these things, and no one's selling them. So that's how I actually started the business. And you can see here a bit of, excuse the sirens if you're picking those up. You can see here a bit of press I got in the early days of 2014, after we just hit £1 million of revenue. And so basically started with the snoods, and quickly moved on to compression wear. So Under Armour pioneered and invented compression clothing, compression sportswear as a product category, and I kind of spotted that opportunity coming to the UK, sort of early doors before it was too popular, and started producing compression wear. So that's what TCA initially became famous for, was our compression clothing, and it's still some of our top sellers today. This slide here, you can just see this is our screenshots of our Amazon store. Top left, you can do quite a lot of Amazon stores these days that you couldn't do before, so they're trying to make it look a lot more like a nice branded website. And we also have TCA.fit, which is our e-commerce store, Shopify, built on Shopify, and you can kind of see the difference between the look and feel of them, especially on the product pages. They're different, and there's a reason for that, and yours are going to need to be different as well if you want to do both. And here is just a quick couple of examples of huge companies that started on marketplaces. Oak Furnitureland started on eBay, and they're going past 300 million of turnover now. And Anchor is, I think they've honestly been like 3 or 4 years old, this company, and I think they're valued at $1 billion now on some stock market in Asia, I think, selling electronics all for Amazon. So how do you do it? And the first kind of like piece of that puzzle, I'd say, is to find your insight. So when I started the company, I had some special insights. I knew that there was a demand for my type of product and a lack of great supply on Amazon. And down in the bottom right, you can see that compression top I was talking about. The original brand that came out of was Power Layer, before TCA existed, actually. Although they're all under the same brand now. So I knew there was a demand for compression wear, and I knew from looking around Amazon that there wasn't that much great supply. There's some very little supply, and what I saw was I wouldn't have bought it as a customer. My second insight was that I thought that I could not only bring in a best-in-class product and the listing quality, which we're going to talk about, but also the best price. So it was almost like I can't lose if I've got these 3 things. And the third insight was that I knew for myself that my natural inclination and skill set is towards brand and creative content, and everybody else around Amazon at the time, although this is now changing, didn't have anything like those type of skills. So I thought, let me lean into that, because that's going to be an advantage for me. So I started with some clear insights. I had the luxury of building my company around Amazon. So everything I did was knowing I was going to be selling this product on Amazon. You looking at where everybody's come from today, you may not have that luxury. So you're going to need to approach it with a slightly different mindset. Things to consider if that does describe you. How popular is your brand already? If it's super, super popular, you're not really going to have a problem because you're going to have already put that work in to get that trust of customers. So you'll probably do quite well straight off the bat. If you're really unpopular, you're going to need to make sure that you can compete with, or unknown, let's say, you're going to have to compete with other unknown brands. How are you going to do it? How popular is your product segment? So Amazon is, you can buy anything there now. Some segments are more popular than others. Are there people shopping for what you're selling? You need to understand how many other people are selling other things to what you sell, how many competitors you have in the space. And I think this might be covered up here, but it says how price competitive is your market? So has it been driven down into a commodity type of product? And are you going to be competing with extremely low prices? These are the type of things you have to consider when you're thinking about your Amazon strategy and whether Amazon is right for you at all. Second broad point here is to understand the platform, and this is like so important. So again, there's a lot of text, but I just think it's better that you just have it and you can send the slides around afterwards. But again, broadly speaking, I think that Amazon as a platform is split into these three areas that you're going to need to do well in. Your operations, which Chris, who we have with us today, can talk a lot about. So that's like, where are you holding your stock, your fulfillment strategy, and those two basically mean, are you delivering all of your SKUs to any customer with a next day or a 2-day delivery at worst? Because that's what they want. They don't care if you've got, like DPD in 3 days on your, they just don't care. They want it next day and 2 days tops, or they're just not interested, right? You need that Prime badge. So you need to build around that and make sure you get it. Internationally, there's a huge opportunity internationally. Germany is massive for us. The US can be massive if you know what to do. And there's ways of doing that quite efficiently with different fulfillment strategies. So you've got to get operations on point. Your content, broadly speaking, your content is going to go into these categories, and they're kind of in priority order. Your reviews are absolutely vital to being successful. Your photos, to be honest, photos should be above reviews. Your photos are probably the most important thing. Your price has to be right. Ideally, it's competitive. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. Then you've got your title, you've got your bullet points, and your A+ content, which is sort of like the richer image and sort of HTML content that Amazon now allows you to have. You've got to be doing constantly revising, making sure you're doing all of those as well as you can. Your visibility is about the keywords that you're using in order to come up on search results, and your PPC strategy on Amazon, which is now non-negotiable. You need to have an excellent PPC strategy, or you're going to struggle massively. So those are kind of the sort of like pillars of the platform that you need to be doing well in. And some other key takeaways for you is you really need to like understand where you are. You're on Amazon. You're not on your own website. You're not in Selfridges or in a store in a John Lewis. And you need to respond to that and make sure that you're selling to people in the right way. People shop differently on Amazon than they do on your store. Obviously, hoping you're getting just changing to Amazon, I don't know if it's going to help you that much. So they're different customers, so you've got to treat them differently. And this is the biggest mistake I've seen with people trying to get onto Amazon, having been successful elsewhere. They don't appreciate and react to the difference between the two. It's a price-driven marketplace, and there will always be someone who's willing to work for less money than you. There are people out there selling what you're selling, and you're just scratching your head like, how can they sell at that price? The reason is they're either, well, they often don't mind working for no money, or they're stupid and they don't realize they're working for no money. You're going to come up against that, and you're going to have to work out how you're going to deal with it. We used to be the cheapest item when there wasn't that much competition. Now we're far from the cheapest product, and there's people that can make a picture that looks a lot like my product and sell it for a lot less money. But we've had to earn our brand credibility in order to sell at this higher price point. So you're going to have to do the same. The metaphor I like to give when I'm thinking about my content and my listings is that I want to look like I've turned up at a boot fair and Amazon is the boot fair and I've set up Nike Town, or I've turned up at Lidl's and opened an Apple store. I want to look that much more sophisticated and that much better than all the competition around me, so that they just can't ignore what I'm offering, and that you create that brand trust. So a lot of that will come through your content and making sure that your photos look good, your copy is well written, your bullet points, and you have beautiful A+ content. But all of these things have been constantly revised by all the other sellers. So you have to keep working hard at it. It's not going to be a case of just throwing it up there and hoping for the best. So once you understand the platform, you need to work that platform. So you've done your basics right, and you then need to kind of have your finger constantly on the pulse of Amazon and constantly be understanding what's possible and how you're going to get an edge over your competition. I can't emphasize enough how competitive it is. Even if you're a well-known brand, you're going to have startups coming out there with great branding that they've come up with, lower prices, often better delivery experience, and all these things are going to start stacking up against you. You need to make sure that you don't let them. You need to try and be the best in class at all of those things. And actually, if I go back up to here, you need to be constantly reviewing these all the time against your competitors. So, and you'll know who they are because you'll stop scrolling for a second when you see them. They'll catch your eye. They'll probably have loads of reviews, and you'll just kind of feel a bit annoyed whenever you see them. So you should be constantly comparing to what your competitors are doing, making sure that every individual customer that goes shopping for your product, they're going to pick you over them majority of the time. Otherwise, if balance starts to shift the other way, you're going to find yourself losing out on sales and dropping down the rankings and losing reviews, and it can escalate quite badly for you. You want it to get that snowball effect where it escalates the right way for you, where you keep churning out reviews and sales velocity and higher rankings. So then you've got to work the platform. So understand Amazon's rules, the ins and outs, get to know the platform inside and out. And then you can start bending those rules to your advantage within reason. Amazon's strict, so they don't care who you are. If you break the rules or annoy them, they'll kick you off. But some of the examples we've done in the past, so this was actually on eBay, but we realized that the drop-down menu on eBay had an unlimited character count, and all those characters counted as keywords in the search results. So that was something that probably about 3 people in the country knew, and I used that to my advantage for many years. Video content, so we've managed to get video content on our Amazon UK listings for our best-selling products, which is technically not allowed yet, but we found like a sort of back-end system that allowed us to do it. User test your thumbnails, so think about how customers shop. They put something in the search results, then they start scrolling, and when they see a nice thumbnail that catches their eye for whatever reason, they stop, and that's what you want to be one they stop on. Basic rule is that multi-variation listings are the king on Amazon, so you don't want to separate all your colors into different listings or your different sizes. You want to get them all on the same listing. And like I say, you need to be signed up to the newsletters, listening to the podcast, watching the YouTube channels, making sure you're always on got your finger on the pulse. What's new, what's changing, what's best practice, and what your competitors are doing. And then a little insight from me is that I like targeting areas where I know I can be the best. I try not to play someone else's game. I'd rather play my own game where I know I can win. So I knew I could do excellent customer service, and that has paid dividends for us over the years. I knew I could create a lovely looking brand and kind of speak about the brand more than a lot of my competitors had. They didn't have the skills to do that. And yeah, like I mentioned before, the most important thing on the listing is going to be your photos, and I just knew that, and I believed in that very strongly. And actually, the first set of images that I got done, I paid for a company to do them, a well-known company that does this, and I hated them so much because I knew that I wouldn't buy it. So I had to scrap those and go find, research heavily and find a great photographer and a great studio that could do them for me. And just to emphasize that point even further, my first full-time hire for TCA was actually a graphic designer before anyone else, which is quite crazy when you think about all the other jobs that need doing in a sportswear brand. But I knew the key was my images on Amazon were almost everything, and I was going to get those right. And that concludes today's small talk, and we're going to get into questions now. So thank you very much for listening.